there, and welcome to Grey Muzzle Geekery for the week of July 15th, 2019, episode 23. Jordan! I'm Dusty Red, and with me as always,
Dusty White.
And we'll get into this week's news.
All your interior design wishes come true for your friends' fans. You too can now own your very own apothecary table from your Pottery Barn announces a Friends collection.
Pivot! Nintendo announces the launch date of their newest iteration of the Switch Lite, which is set to release on September 20th, 2019 for $200. This unit is dedicated to handheld play, with the case coming in a variety of colors. While smaller than the Switch Classic, it'll sport a 5.5-inch 720p screen, non-removable controllers, and no TV out, despite the unit still being called a Switch. It will, however, be compatible with nearly all Switch titles, with online play, and access to the Nintendo Store.
Move over, Daniel Craig. A new badass is being crowned. Captain Marvel actress Lashana Lynch is the new 007. I know. Will they still do Bond girls?
Bond dudes. A bunch of like Chippendales and just like doing sexy dances and what?
I mean, I guess Daniel Craig could just be a Bond dude. Like, I mean, technically they're all Bond dudes.
If they brought back, instead of Bond girls, they just brought back all the old people who played Bonds, who are still alive. Or the dead ones, dig them up, fuck it. And just like put them in little bikinis and like, I'll show you 007 inches. Never mind. We're done.
For that, we'll just slide right into our meat of the podcast here. What did you do?
We're not sliding into meat. Verbiage, phrasing, come on, lady.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we'll go right into the weekend's activities. I guess for me, this was like the perfect weekend on paper. Because obviously there's some snafus and nothing ever comes out the way you want it to. But if you look at it directly on the paper, I got to do some bowling with some fuzzbutts on Friday.
Right.
I got to go to a really cool brewery that had its 2-year anniversary on Saturday. And then, despite temperatures being up to like 95 degrees and the humidity being just about the same, got to do a little LARPing on Sunday. So, you know, as you were saying, bowling, beer, and buffer. Yeah. So we'll start with, I guess, Friday shenanigans, and we'll give a big shout out to the Midwest Furbowl.
Yep.
Or Midwest Furbowl.
Not Merble.
Merble?
That's something completely different. I feel like we talked about that last week.
Yeah. I mean, we got a new Bond girl. Like, we're just going everywhere now.
So, yes, Midwest Furbowl is a group of fuzzbutts, furries, that get together and do bowling-ish?
Well, at its core, it's a meet. It's a meet and greet. We're all interested in this thing, in this hobby.
Right.
And we're going to meet together and celebrate it. The nice thing is that bowling is a pretty forgiving and friendly hobby.
It's a sport.
Okay. Well, to some, it could be a hobby to some. To you, it's a sport.
Yes.
It's very much a sport to you. It paid college for you, for Pete's sake. There, now you can't hustle anybody else.
Shh.
Called you out.
Shh.
But for me, it's a hobby. Like, it's something that I've done a total of 5 times in my life. Or 5. I bowled 5 games in my life, 3 of which were in the last, 6 months.
Right.
So it is at best a hobby to me. But it is friendly in the sense of anybody could really go and give it a shot. And if you're not into bowling itself, the atmosphere is still good.
You still got people hanging out.
There.
And
there's a bar.
There is a bar.
That helps.
And they do fish bowls, which is also, easy on the getting you in the mood, liquid courage.
Yeah, you had a Long Island fishbowl going on.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm being all classy with my little Long Island iced tea. Like, look at me, I'm snazzerific.
Your whiskey sour.
Okay, and I talked to a bartender.
Okay.
Our friend, you were there.
Right.
Our friend Keith, who is a legitimate bartender, and we're talking about different kind of drinks. And I pulled up to it and I was like, you know what is probably the best drink? And he just kind of looked at me and I went, a whiskey sour. And he kind of gave me the look of, you were out of your mind.
Right.
But I know you're onto something. So he kind of looked and was like, continue. And so this is my Grey Muzzle advice to anybody that wants to drink. Whiskey sours are one of those drinks where you could be in a high class, high price steak restaurant, I almost said steak bar.
Steak bar.
Sounds like my kind of
that
place right
sounds
there.
like freaking love right there.
Bloody Marys. But you go to a high, like you could be in a high class place and you could get a whiskey sour and it'll be probably fresh squeezed lemons and
some type of twist to it as far as like
some sort of agave.
Juniper berries.
Yeah, an agave from a fucking, cactus water or some nonsense. But it'll be nice and fancy and it'll be a really classy drink and you could order one and nobody will bat an eye.
Right.
And then on the flip side, you could be at a dive bar. The diviest of dive bars. Sticky floors and bar rags galore. And order a whiskey sour. And it'll be bottom shelf whiskey.
Right.
With some sweet and sour mix. With a
heavily watered down whiskey.
Watered down whiskey. With a neon red maraschino cherry that's been kind of spit up and spit back into the glass. With maybe an orange wedge from somebody else's blue moon. Like slammed into your glass. But it'll be tasty. Like, it'll still be a sour whiskey drink.
Tasty might be it's drinkable.
It's a solid whiskey drink for what it is. And, yeah. Like,
I was going to say, it's your go-to for weddings, right?
When I go to a wedding, I usually do 2 or 3 whiskey sours, depending if I know it's going to be a longer night.
Right.
But generally, I'll do 2 whiskey sours. Then I'll do an amaretto stone sour, which is amaretto's a little lower on alcohol content.
Right.
Then I'll do a cup or 2 of coffee, and then I'll finish the night with a lot of water, and then go home.
Right.
And I'll maintain a decent buzz, and sober up, and be like, okay, I'm done.
I was going to say, when we were talking to Keith, I was admiring his bitter collection.
His own, but now we can't get into it too much.
Right.
Because he is talking about his own...
can't talk.
Proprietary?
Yes.
Business
secrets.
of being a bitter businessman. Ha 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 ha.
Dork.
But he wants to get into his own bitters and stuff, and hopefully I'm not calling him out, but hey, dude, get on that, man. Like, it's awesome.
No, it's just, it's cool to see different... I have come from doing this podcast, I've come to have my eyes open to all kinds of geekery, and bartending and being into something like that would be what I would think of as a geek.
Especially
like somebody that has a passion for something.
Especially if you're passionate enough to do your own bitters and make your own drinks with your own ingredients. Like, it's endearing for one, and secondly, it goes back to our closing
something
statement.
That's knowledgeable.
It's closing statement of we're all geeks about something. Like, we're all geeks at something that interests us. And yeah, so he's super interested in his bartending and creating and inventing and sampling different drinks and different kinds of stuff. And so you tangented this time.
I did. I kind of like pushed you.
Switch roles. I'm Dusty White.
Dusty Red.
This week's news. No. So we get into...
We'll cycle back to, obviously, Midwest Furbowl.
Furbutts. You are like just all over. Cheers.
I'm going on a couple days without some decent sleep, guys. Bear with me. So we will tangent back to what we were actually doing on Friday. What did you feel like? Was it positive to the first time? It was about par for you. I know you bowled better.
We went to the Furbowl in December,
right?
And I had a pretty good time. And that's where I get weird and I get kind of chastised in the sense of I don't do much public fur stuff.
Right.
Like, I can't say I'm in the closet because obviously I'm in a freaking podcast. But for the most part, I keep it under wraps. I mean, it's, again, a hobby of mine. I really enjoy anthropomorphic stuff. I have a bunch of fox stuff. I like foxes. But some people have it more of a lifestyle. That is more of how they identify.
They identify with it. They identify as a furry first and foremost.
First and foremost, and their family and their friends are all of this group.
Right.
You could look, and you could say the same about any other group. Like, you look at a LARPer, another hobby of ours, and if you are, all of your friends are only LARPers, and all you do is hop from LARP event to LARP event and just do crafts that involve LARPing, then there's going to be a level of skewed viewpoints you'll get.
Right.
Because variety is indeed the spice of life, which is why I do feel I have a slight advantage being interested in a great many things, from LARPing to the fur community to
music,
disc
podcasting,
golfing, music, sports. I love sports. I'm keeping an eye on all the hockey trades going on right now, and like, I'm bouncing in my seat because my Blackhawks are hopefully going to look decent this year. And they have a coach that's like, I'm older than, which is fucking weird. Like, it's weird to look at these guys and be like, I'm older than you. You coach a professional hockey team.
What have I done with my life?
I mean, like, I'm a couple years younger than Tom Brady, and he's got, like, 6 Super Bowl rings, and I'm like...
Listen, not all of us can be Thanoses of Super Bowls.
That's fine. He's got, like, 6 Super Bowl rings, and I've got, like, an old wedding ring. Does that count? I mean, yeah, with every Super Bowl, there's a winner and a loser. Anyway.
So, back on point here. What did you feel was obviously when we went in December, it was right after MFF. So
Midwest Fur Fest,
it was almost like the ride, like it was a high of that.
Well, Midwest Fur Fest is currently the world's largest fur convention.
Okay.
At about 13,000 attendees.
Okay.
And so the immediate week after was a bowling event in the Midwest. So you did have some people that had layovers, or had people just stayed in the area and extended that visit, or just riding the high of...
Almost like they didn't, the last vestige of post-con depression.
Yeah, and everybody has been to any kind of convention, or even at a concert. Like, if you're leaving a concert or a comedy show or a ball game or wherever, and there's that one guy still there with his kid, like, chewing down the last of his hot dog, like, hang on, just enjoy it out here before we go home. Like, you get that with different... We've seen The Last Lone LARPer. Like, we're all packing up on Sunday, you remember?
I remember that.
We're packing up on Sunday, everybody's cleaned up, we're going to our car, and he's in full costume, sitting by the fire, just
holding on to the last little bit.
Just like, I want to live in this fantasy for a little bit longer. And... not make it fun. Like, you do you, boo.
I was gonna say, we kind of do the same thing when we're on our way back from South Michigan. Like, we have our hobby, we have our rituals after the LARP. You go to afters. We drive normally 90% of the time. We're driving back from Michigan, and it's a 4+ hour drive. Mm-hmm. So we have the places where we like to stop. It's also part of that ritual of staving off that last bit of, okay, tomorrow, Monday's back to work.
Yeah, especially since you and I do work Monday through Friday, like, more or less 9 to 5 type jobs.
Right.
There is there's a stigma already. Like, for whatever reason, Monday gets such a bad rap for being Monday. And then just compounded with the fact that we were literally riding endorphins all weekend, from friends to excitement to adrenaline rushes.
Right.
Be it at a convention, be it bowling, be it watching sports, whatever. There's an endorphin rush, there's an adrenaline rush, there's all sorts of chemicals firing off in your brain, and then you come home on Sunday and you're like, well, shit, I gotta go to work in the morning.
Right.
And me, I start at 6:30, so I'm generally really sore or just really tired, which is why I actually started, been taking melatonin at night. Little melatonin gummies. It just helps even me out, so to speak. It's...
because your sleep schedule at a LARP, I mean, we've joked about it, but 4 hours at a LARP feels like 8 hours any other time.
And especially this weekend where it was 90 degrees outside, I had all of the life just drained out of me. But you get into those convention weekends where we're off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even sometimes Monday.
Right.
And now you don't even know what day it is. The time is irrelevant. You're going to bed at 4 in the morning to be up in 2 hours. Like, this is bad.
Right.
So, but yeah, adrenaline rush, all that other stuff. So a lot of people do the Midwest Furbowl right after Midwest Fur Fest. And then we got a little lucky. We got to see and meet Telephone.
Yeah,
which
the
is
first time.
The first time we went, which is a well-known fursuiter who takes stage performance to a level beyond anything I've ever seen. Dr. Samuel Conway once said that there are some people that can appear like a character and could make a character seem alive. And this individual...
Telephone could probably draw little children away from Mickey Mouse. That's how charismatic she is in suit, and just her character concept and how...
It's a cute suit.
Yes.
It's a well done, like, what she does to portray the character is absolutely amazing. Between body language, because she doesn't talk in suit. She makes chittery noises and squeaks and stuff, but it's all body language. When she's sad, her full shoulder slump. If she's trying to smile, she'll really kick her head back because it's a mascot suit for the most part, so you have to exaggerate.
All emotions get exaggerated
and
to
every
like
motion
11.
you have to turn up. So she's just well known for this, and we got to, I was biased. I was like, okay, I want to see her on a smaller scale. I want to be able to interact with her and even just talk to her outside of, and this is before we even talking about doing the podcast, kind of one of the directions I wanted to do the podcast too, of like meeting these people and maybe doing interviews with them and whatnot.
Right.
Of like, hey, what got you into this? So we had that opportunity, and I was nervous, obviously, because again, I don't do outside of conventions. I generally don't do much with this community, even though they have multiple bowling meets, they have softball meets, they have just gatherings, they do suiting stuff. I mean, one of my favorite things is you'll see suitors go to children's hospitals and perform there, and there's a bunch of things that could happen. I just don't
It's just
that.
it's not your enjoyment of suiting. Like, you enjoy suiting, but it's only a very specific amount of time.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, now I'm good. I need to. You don't completely detach from and become Dusty Red.
But see, I do that at LARP, and that's
But
where
that's what I was
going to
say. That's you are much Dusty Red to me is your LARP character.
For sure.
The Fox Fur character is similar, and you do LARP, you do suit with a lot of LARP like costuming
With the
on.
gear. And I try to advertise for LARPs as well as like, hey, it's not just this specific brand of geek. Like, again, I'm a multi-geek girl, multi-culture geek, bi-geekly, bi-geekule. I don't know. But I'm a geek in many forms.
Hey, we don't label here.
No labels. Don't geek shame.
Yeah, don't geek shame.
No geek shame. So obviously, I try to show that I am in a variety of hobbies and show that I am in a variety of things and kind of encourage it to others that you don't have to stand on this little island and be ashamed of like, well, I really like music. Okay. Well, I really like, the fur fandom too. All right, mix it two. Make it happen. Again, Pepper Coyote, Fox and More. Like, there's people that'll do this. Hey, I'm a LARPer and I'm a gamer, and you have people like Alkali and Boozy Badger and these other people that are capable of dancing in a number of fandoms and hobbies, or cultures that allow them to dance. So I try to do the same thing. I try to announce, hey, furries, come and LARP, come and watch sports. Let's go do a thing. LARPers, come to a convention. They know how to throw a damn good party.
They do.
Come and I'll go watch a game with y'all. Like, so going back around as we tangent like crazy once again. This time around, I did let my competitive nature get the best of me. Because I bowled a 99 the first time.
Right.
And it was kind of a joke because I did have a giant foam head on and everything else. And I'm like, I'm going to get 100. And I bowled a 99 and went, well, fuck. So I got there on Friday and went, okay, I'm going to bowl me 100. And I did.
You did. Right on the nose.
Right on the nose. But when I got a little bit more comfortable and kind of let the adrenaline and everything go away and kind of focus on, okay, I'm going to bowl a little bit better here. Actually got a 108. Improved a little bit. But also between bowling with you, and then we made 2 new friends.
Yep.
Who were also bowlers. And
their first time. Well, wouldn't call them
one
bowlers.
Was a bowler.
Sort of. Okay. But it was their first time. And they happened to end up on the lane with us, and they were charismatic enough to come and ask and introduce themselves. Mm-hmm. So me as being somebody there that doesn't suit, but still kind of identifies with the fandom, I was able to kind of get to know them and ask them a couple of questions while you were getting ready and suiting. I was just kind of getting to know them, know that one of them actually works for Great America and is a sound geek.
Yep.
So
little nerd conversation there,
yeah, exactly,
audiophiles and stuff.
And then the other one is a theater person.
Yep.
So I was a drama kid all through high school. I
still are.
Right. I mean, yeah, duh. But no, it was a really good time, and I really enjoyed getting to know those 2 people and feeling a little bit more, for me, at home, or at least a little bit more comfortable, because I don't have a suit, and sometimes these experiences or these encounters can be very suit heavy. Therefore, only suitors really interact with other suitors because that's a limited time that they can be there in suit.
You'll see the suitors interact with each other, and then those not in suit will form little clusters of friends.
Right.
And you'll see some of them with their backs to each other, or backs to the rest of the group, and sit in a small circle. And that's the only, I guess, negative. And I don't want to call out anybody or make negatives, but you will see that. And maybe it is because it's the introverted nature.
Yes, I think that's honestly all it is.
But you're also dealing with, there's also normies, as they call them, at the bowling alley too, and knowing that this community is one that is picked on. It is one that becomes
people don't understand it. People want to record it.
It's an easy target for bullies.
Yeah.
Even if you're in an unintentional bully, as you were just saying, somebody kind of looking look at these guys and recording.
I watched from my advantage point. I watched did I say that right? Vantage point. Sorry. I watched a mom, an obviously older lady, stand up and have her camera or her phone pointed towards our group down on the other side of the lanes. And I watched the daughter get embarrassed and say, "Mom, stop, sit down." Because the daughter obviously probably is embarrassed in general to be out in public with her mom, period. But the other part of it is the daughter might be of the mindset of, no, you don't do that. She may, obviously I'm projecting onto her.
It could also be another thing of, because it could be embarrassment in 2 ways. It could be embarrassment of, she's embarrassed of her mom.
Small-mindedness, maybe?
Being small-mindedness, or she's just embarrassed herself of being attention's being drawn to her. Her mom may actually be like, look at this is neat. We'll go the other way. I'll take the other route. Her mom's going, this is neat. What's going on here? And the daughter being embarrassed of don't draw their attention. Don't make them look at me. Don't have them over here. And maybe she's the one with the small mind going, I don't want them coming over here. I don't want them looking at them. I'm not trying to poo-poo, but it is a case of the point stands for either or, that it is a group that is typically known to be bullied, is typically known to
in an environment that I personally know to be usually filled with small-minded people.
Well, I mean, I'll take your advice on that. I have not been to many bowling alleys, so I cannot speak on...
Small-minded, very vocal, and usually drunk.
Well, alcohol has a tendency of doing that to a lot of people anyway. So, yeah, if you have a group of people that are, you know the type. I'll give everybody a moment just to think of the type.
Absolutely.
And then, load them up with some beer that they've been drinking for at least a few hours.
Right.
And now a group of people coming in wearing animal costumes.
And they're excited, and that is one of the things I can say about the community, that both actual communities, LARPing and furries, are the almost palpable excitement you get when you show up, either Friday night before lay on. Everybody's got that feel,
tension in the air.
Yeah,
it's like a wound up spring. It's about a spring, or like a Jack in the Box. Boop, boop, doop. And you're waiting for boop, ba doo, ba doo, doo. And you're like, oh, what's going to happen? Boop, ba doo, ba doo, ba doo, doo. Boop, ba doo, doo.
So there's a excitement that you almost kind of feed off of. Even standing in line to get checked in on Friday night for the bowling was there. People were excited. They get to see their friends. They get to be in an environment that they fucking feel comfortable in. And it's exciting to see people glow almost because they're getting to do their hobby. They're getting to be themselves.
Yep. And especially if it reminds you of like just this thing that I saw. It's let people be happy about things that they enjoy. Unless they're hurting somebody or if it's obviously it's not consensual or anything else, then fine. But if it's something that they enjoy that is ultimately harmless, just let them be. Let people be. Just be it LARPers, be it bowlers. I don't know. I'm not going to sit there and harass bowlers and be like, oh, you're throwing a ball down the lane. Don't you have better things to do? Do you, dude. Just enjoy yourself, man. Dude, it drives me nuts.
All right, so Saturday.
So we go into Saturday because we had a late Friday night.
Right.
And then I dropped you off because you had a curfew. Your fiance promised I'd drop you off at home. And then on Saturday, you, me, and your fiance managed to hit a brewery.
Which you had no idea you lived so close to.
In fairness, I've seen the brewery as I drive on my way home from work. But it does take you down like a side street, which is basically behind a bunch of retail stores.
I will admit, it looked very industrial.
Industrial area.
Yeah.
And even now the building that they're building across the street from the place, or across the street as I air quote, is going to be like some sort of...
It looks like an office building.
Like a big giant office building. And it does seem like an office park, that
right.
Like 2 or 3 street lights going on, and that's all you have, office park or office area, industrial area. And as I've driven by it, I've even seen like the little A-frame posters that looks like it's drawn in like black Sharpie, just BHBC Brewing. And I'm just like, I'm going to get mugged or something. I don't know what's going on. It's a murder booth. It's a mugging booth. But my company happened to do a event where my company owner
showcase
what we make for. I'm not going to get into it. I mean, if my company wants to give me a little extra dough to advertise for them, I'm fine with that. But for now, but we do deal in robotics. I'll say that much. Ooh. I make it sound like it. Ha, ha, ha. It's arms dealer. I get it.
No. Wah, wah.
But yeah, so we do deal in robotics, and our company was doing a showcase of some of the stuff and some of the products we're working with and whatnot. And so to do the showcase, had a company come in and brewed, had just brought in some beer. Just brought in like 2 kegs and had their craft on display at our showcase. Well, I find out later that the company owner is one of the company's co-owners, like longtime best friend.
Like high school, I think.
Yeah, it's a high school friend.
High school friend.
So I was talking to the guy helping him set up his, his kegs and everything else. And he's like, yeah, we're having a 2-year anniversary. You should come. And I'm like, when? He's like, Saturday. I'm like, I will be there because I like anniversaries and I like beer. So twist my arm.
I'm a dude. I like beer. I'm a dude. I like beer.
Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. And stuff. Anyway, well done. Psycho Stick for the win. So I end up inviting you and decide to have you and myself and your fiance to go get some beer. And, well, the place is called Black Horizon Brewing Company. It's in Willowbrook. They just finished their 2-year celebration, and it is awesome. The inside of the place is definitely, you bring your own food if you like.
Yeah.
It's a tap room.
We used to play trivia every week at Alter Brewery, so it's very similar.
Not Bolingbrook. Downers Grove.
Downers Grove.
In Downers Grove. Shout out to Alter Brew in Downers Grove. And so we did. Oh, she's writing it down. Oh, geez, here we go. Get on your point. Okay.
So we show up and we get parked. We had to park in Target and walk over.
Okay, luckily there's a store right around the fence, basically.
And we got to... I will say I really enjoyed the fact that they posted when they would be tapping certain stuff. It wasn't just a crapshoot to show up and be like, oh, I hope they're tapping something that I'll like.
Yeah, they did put a menu out basically stating at 3 o'clock we're going to do this beer, at 4 o'clock we're going to do this beer, and had like a keg or two of, I think they're just doing one keg of these like specialty beers they're doing.
Right.
One of them was a Scottish ale. One was a Scottish ale in bourbon barrels.
So good.
What was another one? I mean, they did my favorite's still the Stealing Sunshine, which was their
orange sour.
It was a sour. It was like a sour ale, so it wasn't too sour, but oh my goodness, it was so good.
They had beer slushies.
They did have blue. Oh, what's the blueberry beer that they had?
It was Dune Shaper.
Dune Shaper.
Yeah. And it was super good.
Well, the slushy version of it was super blueberry. And you're suggesting that because it's even blue, that they threw blueberries in there and helped with the freezing process.
Right. Because they got to make it so that it at least will freeze a little bit.
Right. And then I just had it straight up on tap, and it was much lighter in the blueberry, but it was all in the back. So it didn't smell too much like blueberries, and it tasted like a really light, clean ale. Yeah. Bear in mind, it's almost 100 degrees outside, and it was a clean ale. And then as soon as that aftertaste kicked in, it was all like a blueberry, real subtle blueberry note. And I was like, oh, I could kill a case of this in a heartbeat.
I tried their Sugar Bomb, which was a IPA.
And you don't like IPAs normally.
I will start my night with an IPA, but it's not like I could drink IPAs all night. I can drink maybe one or two, and then I got to switch to something different. But this IPA, it had one of the words that they used for the flavor basically profile was cereal milk.
Yeah, I think they use I'm sure they use lactose as well. To get that creaminess.
It was vanilla with lactose, and it had some creaminess to it, and it was really good. It didn't
tastes like feet?
Sock you, yeah. It didn't sock you in the face, make you, like, to me, you always say feet, but to me, IPAs have a tendency to cleaning product ending, like, aftertaste.
Right.
Like, Lysol, Pine Sol flavor.
Pine cleaner flavor.
Yeah.
And one of the places that I'm very, and I guess I got not spoiled by, but, like, Three Floyds in Indiana, another, like, really popular brew, is well known for super hoppy drinks and super sour drinks.
And you're not a fan of hops.
I'm not a hop drinker. I like a low IBU. Anything over.
I shouldn't say that. You like a specific kind of hop, and it's usually Judy.
Whoa!
Not beer.
We're finished with the furry section. We're moving on to beer section. Segments, ladies. Segments. But yeah, I mean, anything like around 30, maybe 40, but anything below 30 IBU is my zone. I mean, lower the better. I'm not a 20s and 15s like ciders and stuff. I'm like, but once we started climbing up there, or even like some of the imperial stouts and some of that stuff where it really cranks up on the bitter, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm out. Tapping.
I want to enjoy my beer, not chew it.
I just don't. I can get into that because I mean, some people enjoy IPAs and some people will defend them, and I will teasingly poke back of go, sure, any bad brewery could make a decent IPA because it's
goof proof.
It's sort of goof proof, goof troop, and like it's just like a step outside of bathtub gin. Like, I make bathtub gin and IPAs. Okay. Welcome to Steve's Bag of Spiders Speakeasy. So, yeah, and that's more or less how we closed out Saturday, because it started to rain a little bit. We had our beer, ended up going home and wanted to recover.
Right.
Because when I got home, I started slamming copious amounts of water in anticipation of sweating a lot. Because then we roll into Sunday.
LARPing for our main characters with Alliance Chicago, a more local game that happened to have their one day on a Sunday, which is typically, like, I think this is the second Sunday I've ever played, but the first Sunday was the same chapter, but it was a feast day.
Right.
So it was like basically, hey, come into character, we'll sit and eat and
banquet hall,
like banquet hall. Yeah. But this was actually a full-fledged come and get your beat stick on Boffer one day. Mm-hmm. That ended up where at? In close to
It was in Country Club Hills in Illinois. Again, that's the thing too, is like a lot of people see Alliance Chicago and think it takes place in the city itself. It's generally going to be in the outlying suburbs,
right?
Just because, again, forest preserves and Girl Scout camps and whatnot. You know, you're not going to
still need space to LARP.
Like, I mean, if you want to go chasing after an alligator, you'll be in Humboldt Park. although they did eventually catch Chance the Snapper.
They did.
They got him. They got him. Hopefully he's okay. Probably at a zoo or something now, but. Yeah, I mean, there's just no place to really do that. So they do use, again, as we said before, Girl Scout camps, Boy Scout camps, 4-H clubs, sometimes just forest preserves or anything that has like a pavilion or some sort of AC. And boy, was AC needed this particular weekend because it was 94, 95 degrees on a Sunday.
And that sun was angry.
Super Mario Brothers 3.
Like...
not a cloud in
rude.
sky. Not a cloud in sky to like hide you from any of the anger. So Alliance Chicago for me was one of the first, actually was the first Alliance chapter I played at. Now, as I said before, I come from Nero International and been playing there almost 20 years now.
Right.
I just passed, we're in July now, just passed 19 years. So I'm currently in...
Your 20th season.
Basically in my 20th season. Or in my 19th year. I'm currently in my 19th year. So less than, 11 months and I'll be at 20 years of LARPing.
Right.
Actually, technically I was LARPing in Vampire in like 98, 99.
God, you're old.
Shish. So I did play Alliance Chicago first after I took a small hiatus from Nero International because... drama, A, and B, personal reasons.
Right.
Well, it's one of those things of you not so much get burnt out, but you just sometimes need to step away. Sometimes you're just like, you know what, I'm going to stand back, and I'm kind of currently doing that now with Nero. I'm just taking a small step back, focusing elsewhere. Probably will be back maybe next year, and just kind of with a fresh start and see what's going on with the game and see if any changes or anything happen. Yeah, it's good to step away sometimes. You need to do that. You need to take a small break. And so I did that. I mean, I'm not ashamed or anything to say. I took a small break from Nero and gave Alliance a try and actually did not play Red. I played a cheetah. I'm good with the furry theme again. It was a SAR, cat people, Thundercats basically. But I played a cheetah and he was a weapon master and just... I actually have a scar on my leg because I had so much foam on me and so many weapons on me that I tripped over my own sword and scraped up my knee on the gravel road. But it was one of my first games was Alliance. One of my first Alliance games was indeed Alliance Chicago. So it was nice to come back and give it a shot, 'cause I also haven't played there too recently. A lot of schedule kind of overlapping and other real life things that prevented me from going to play. So I got to go play there one day. And what did you think of the one day right out the gate? Because they did change the location first. They had a location that was much, much closer to my to my home. I was excited. They're like 15 minutes away, and I'm like, yes! And then the day before, they're like, hey... we're moving locations. And I'm like, no. And they're like, but it has air conditioning. I'm like, yes.
I was enjoying, I enjoyed going to that chapter. Because again, just like you said, I had started playing that chapter for the same reasons, taking a step away. I had just, stepped down from being head of plot at Nero International. And didn't want to give up LARPing. So with a swing of our friends going and trying Alliance, because I had never done it. It was another game with similar rule set. There wasn't a lot of commitment at that point. But created a SAR character that was going to be not Dustie. Mm-hmm. And had fun. And she's a straight fighter. I get my aggression out that way.
Get your beat stick.
Yeah, get my stick jock on. But I've always enjoyed some of the players at Alliance Chicago. It's just hard to play our SAR because we are kind of antisocial. And if you're not one of us, we
sort of anti-heroes type character. Like we dance that line between...
We'll go do what you need to do, but we want we want pay because we're paid. Mercenaries.
Right. And it does take away from the tropes, so to speak, of we're all one big community, and in game, not out of game. Obviously, out of game, we're there, and we'll do afters, we'll hang out, and they know out of game that
we're not jerks.
Yeah, we're not jerks. We're there to play. We're there to have fun. But we did kind of challenge some of their players when we came in, and we're like, no, we're kind of a mercenary team. We're kind of standoffish. We're kind of, we want to challenge their player. Our goal was to challenge their players to play outside of what seemed like a comfort zone.
Right.
We're all playing together. We're all this big group of players that will go together. What? Goblins are raiding the farms? 30 of us are going to go and kill all of the goblins instead of sending like a small dispatch or sending a small group. So it's you have that vibe of a large group of people going to do things. And then all of a sudden you kind of shake things up a little bit with a smaller group that's like, no, we're good.
Yeah, we're not here to go do that kind of thing. We're
here to help the farmer. Go help the farmer. Why?
Right. We challenge their role play. We challenge their mindset. But I've been wanting to play Dusty White at Alliance Chicago since really starting to get into Alliance and playing her majority and her home chapter.
The new
at SoMe and the 2.0 new rules.
The new rule set does encourage a lot more. I want to play a little bit more and experiment with some of these new skills and see some of these new abilities and effect and some of the monsters that come out with some of these new abilities and their weaknesses to certain things and whatnot. And it is interesting, to say the least.
And for me personally, Alliance Chicago plays a very noble-centric game or a political game that Dusty White is very good at dealing with. But at the same time, I have the mentality of just because you have a title doesn't mean anything to me. I will respect you, but I need to show that you've earned that respect from the people that follow you as a noble. So I wanted to go and play Alliance Chicago to see how players are choosing to portray that, because a lot from my past experiences and from playing Nero International for a very long time, the Midwest players don't like nobility. Yeah,
that was something that was weird that now that we're definitely tangenting here a little bit, and we've seen that there's always been, for whatever reason, a weird view of nobility in the Midwest gaming area, like from between Nero and Alliance a little bit. Like nobility seems to just, people seem to look bad at them, which is, I mean, if you want to take a realistic view, sure, nobles in the past, like real nobles were, landowners and this and that, and kind of got, they got all the rights and whatnot. So
it's hard to play a feudal system in a modern diplomatic democracy.
Too many people have democracy in the world and cannot get into their head of like, this is the king, and if he says you did a bad thing, you need to die, then you need to die.
Yeah, you have no rights to say, but I didn't do that thing. No, right. It's he said, she said.
That said,
does that person have a title?
That said, it's also difficult for a game to properly portray that kind of setup where the king goes, hey, you can't do that. Execution or banishment or fines or penalties. And then what? Like, you lose players? Do you lose... That sense of community goes away. So it's super hard to balance the level of, look, this guy's the king. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to go and try to kill the king, and then you have to deal with the out-of-game, like the in-game.
I will put it forth that Alliance tends to, at least from what I've seen, Alliance tends to deal with it a little bit differently than what I've seen other LARPs, is being a noble in-game comes with an out-of-game contract. And by contract, I mean it basically states, by taking upon this position, you now represent the chapter on an out-of-game level as well.
Sure.
To not... Like, it's the
don't be a jerk.
Don't be a dick rule. And I have seen a lot of that portrayed at Alliance in a much better way.
For sure.
And that has skewed my original opinion of nobility. So that, and now back to the tangent of show. So I think overall, I really enjoyed the one day. It was their first portrayal or first full event weekend or event game.
It was their first
into 2.0 rules.
It was their first one day with 2.0 rules.
Correct.
The 2.0 rule set is still, in some cases, difficult to grasp. There's a lot of nuances to the rule system that makes characters and monsters very kind of game of cat and mouse, but paper, scissors, rock with grenades and bombs and Spock and Lizard and all the other things too, because there's going to be a counter for something. It was cool to see that some of the things that were attacking us, because first off, their one day was very much a one-shot module.
Right.
Okay? You are going to this little pocket plane to this. Basically, the story was we were on this little pocket plane where all of these spirits were lingering because they were unable to resurrect or basically be brought back to life. Yeah, we're basically respawn. All these other people, farmers, craft merchants,
egg scholars.
Basically, all the NPCs, not anybody that wasn't a player, wasn't able to resurrect, wasn't able to respawn. And so they're like, hey, we need you guys to go to this pocket plane to help these people respawn. And we're like, okay. And then had the task of getting these 8 gems.
Almost like Fisher King lure style of drawing them out to come get their resurrections.
And we had to do it, and luckily we were able to fight within, like, the pavilion that we used was the main lure, like the main base to use, which is great because it was shaded, because, again, we talked about angry sun hanging overhead.
Right.
So the concept of there was to get these orbs and complete these tasks to then draw those people there. So we had everything from, we had nobles, we had scholars, we had merchants, we had rogues, we had all these types of people that we had to help resurrect and help respawn.
I really enjoyed how Plot did those specific little section mods.
Well, it wasn't all combat.
It wasn't, and I always enjoy seeing that. And a one day, there are people that are going to be there of like, you always have your stick jacks. You always have the people that are there to get their beat on, to get the exercise and the activity and the burning of the energy out. But it was so hot. And some of it was, there was aspects of role playing. There was, since there was these different lures for different people's abilities or skills, they had to do some negotiations to, like, we had little kids running around with a stone and, getting someone to be able to get that stone from the little kids, or, a long lost noble that didn't understand why he wasn't resurrected and why did he lose, what does it mean to be a noble?
One of my favorites was actually from a new player who was playing a high ogre, which high ogres are, as you would guess, they're ogres, but they're more advanced, they're more evolved, isn't the word I want to use, because
more educated.
Evolved would be the term you would use,
right?
But evolution, all those stuff, opens up a can of worms unto itself. Yeah, but yeah, they're evolved. They're evolved ogres, so they're intelligent. They're a PC race, so they're playable characters. You could be this ogre that's not just as berserking. You can be if you want, but they're generally but one of their racial traits or racial tendencies, and for those that don't know fantasy games and whatnot, you have every race has its thing. Elves will live in trees and hoblings like apples or something, or whatever. The high ogres,
the word you were looking for is tropes.
Tropes, sure. Well, tropes and traits in some regards. They have different abilities and whatnot, but yes, following those tropes, those traits. The high ogres do not like necromancy, and they don't cast necromancy. They don't deal with raising dead and dark evil spells.
Stay dead.
Black magic. Well,
right.
They don't deal with black magic. So we come across trying to find this orb, and there's this group of people that are trying to defend the orb from necromancers. They fight necromancers themselves. And the one guy's just looking at us, is like, you guys are necromancers. You guys will not take this orb from us. We're like, whoa. We're not necromancers. He's like, all of you all, and he points to the high ogre, and the high ogre looks like, how dare you call me a necromancer? That's insulting. And the guy just looks like, you're right, and then he poofs. The spirit poofs away. It was freaking hilarious. It was definitely one of those, like, for a new player, he got reaffirmed of this is a thing that exists. This is a trope, as you said, but this is something that is a character, something that is so prevalent in this world that, this race of creature does not like black magic. And this guy called him a black mage, and he's like, no! And the guy came to realize, oh shit, yeah, you're right. Poof, and he poofed. So it was really well done by the plot team in that regard. It was funny. It was a little bit of comic relief, but it was also really good for a new player to see, rather than just charging the guy and beating him up for being called a necromancer, to do that interaction, to have that roleplay moment, to go, how dare you, and be upset and be insulted by it,
right.
And then rewarded with that action to go, no, you're right. To basically telling him, congratulations on reading the back history of your race. Congratulations,
rewarding him.
Congratulations on knowing your back history. Congratulations, or knowing the history of the race, knowing the role play, like doing and interacting with me in that regard, rather than, I mean, he could have just started swinging, and it's fine. He could have fought him and beat him up. But doing other things to put the R in LARP, role play. So it was really, really good to see that. And seeing more and more of that I've noticed on this one day with, the Alliance Chicago really stepping up their game a bit to emphasize more on role play. And even the prop monster. We've talked about our love of prop monsters, that while we're on this in-between, this pocket dimension, there was this spirit eater that would go and just consume spirits. It fed upon spirits.
Right, the magic that was there.
Well, we basically became a jar of honey to all the spirits that were flies for the most part, and came swarming to us, which means we summoned, or not summoned, but drew the attention of the spirit shark.
We were chumming the waters.
And we chummed the water for the spirit shark. I did not think of it that way. My brain hurts. You're fired now.
Nailed it.
You fucking nailed it. So we had the spirit shark, like, dun, and the water around us, and was just attacking stuff. It was neat. Definitely a prop monster.
Props to Nate and him dealing with a black basic cloak.
It was a giant, like, robe cloak thing.
And a duct tape. It looked awesome. Duct taped helmet, like fish creature.
Like between a fish and a...
Like dinosaur?
Kind of a fish dinosaur thing. Yeah, it was just this big nom head.
Nonetheless, Super Mario 3 angry sun out, and he's running around and basically all black.
And he's on the field for
several hours.
Easily. Because
equivalent of several hours.
He showed up for a bit. We beat him up, and he kind of went away. And he came back a bit, still sweating, just dripping head to toe, and he went back and cooled off a bit, and then at that last fight,
we told him there's no actually dying, no actual dying.
But at the end, he was out there for about an hour and a half at least, in the heat, in the sun.
And the NPCs too. Again, NPCing is always a pain, and especially when you're playing a stat card and you have unlimited spawns, and you're out there and you're fighting in the sun because we're under the pavilion essentially. And props all around for really just getting the atmosphere. There was some chaoticness to it, some hectic moments.
Well, I will jump on that because that was going to be kind of a thing I was going to say. There's always room for improving on opportunities, or just identifying opportunities that happen in a game. And a couple of things that I have noticed, I can't help but feel are biased by the heat. Some of the stats got a little big. I'm not sure if it was intentional because of the heat, knowing that we're only going to fight
for a certain amount of time before people are just physically exhausted.
It makes sense to just fight a couple of these, and we're like, cool, we blew some stats, we took some damage, some effects happened. Now everybody go and chill because it's 95 degrees out. Or was it would that event have run the same if it was
mid-October? Yeah, mid-October.
September, October, where it's, 70s and 80s. Would they be out there with stat cards that they had? Like, again, big spirit eating, doom monster, pretty awesome. Swinging 20 doom,
right,
makes me look and go, wow, that is really difficult for which then piggybacks onto the second thing. A lot of new players were there to
players that we found out were probably that were there for other occasions that were testing the waters.
They wanted to try the game. They wanted to try the game for a friend, and they came out to give the game a shot. So it's one of those things where, and again, I announce over and over and over, one days are a good attempt, like a good taste of the game. You get an idea of what a game is capable of. You get an idea of the rules. I guess the big downside that I noticed is because there were so many new players at once, I found myself getting beat up trying to explain rules to some new players that were down.
Right.
Like, somebody would drop, and I'd be like, you okay? Because there's that other caution of, you see somebody just drop, and you're like, are you hot? Are you good? Like, give me a high sign, thumb up, or just like healing arts, whatever else. But they'd kind of look around and be like, oh, no, I'm dead, I'm okay, or this, and they'd verbalize, like, no, you can't talk when you're dead, and this, like...
You're trying to give them a good experience and not have them be... And not have it feel like...
Well, we're veteran players.
Right.
And so we will assist new players with rules, which is fine. But when I'm trying to explain a rule to a player, and then I'm getting beat up from behind by the monster that happens to be wandering by, it's one of those, like... And again, there's no fault. I'm never gonna, because it happened in every game I've played.
Absolutely.
I've definitely, be it Nero, be it Alliance, be it whatever, I've definitely been in a situation, even in conversational, where somebody hits me with something and I go to call defense or I go to do something and I'm engaged with this other person in a miniature out of game conversation, a rules clarification, and then all of a sudden dude comes up and just starts hitting me. I'm like, okay, you need to step 5 feet back so we can resolve this situation, because unfortunately, unlike tabletop, there's not turns.
Yeah, it's not
like,
a resolution. Okay, it's not a resolved turn.
Okay,
before,
Steve, what do you do with your bag of spiders? You throw them at the enemy. Roll to hit. No, it's... Okay, Steve's hitting you, and Tom, what do you... Tom,
yeah, we're not anime styling this. Everybody's attacking one at a time.
Right, yeah.
You can get full, nobody survives a circle beat.
So that was one of the down... It's awesome seeing so many new players. It hurts my soul sometimes when there's a lot of new players and there's a lot of having to learn those rules. And it goes back to for new players to best prepare for themselves is to really give the rulebook a look over and get an idea of what the key points are going to be. Know what your major rules that are going to come across that you will encounter immediately. Things you're going to encounter like the hold rule, everybody take a knee. Knowing what death and dying and bleeding out are. Knowing those rules. All the incants and all the other things, the math on taking hits will happen. But when you're pretty sure you got beat up, knowing those rules, those that come all the time, are just really key. And like I said, that's my only major, I want to say gripe. I said, oh man yelled at Cloud swinging his cane. But it's a case of like, statting got a little rough. Some numbers were just like, okay, that's, maybe that would have been good for the previous iteration of the game.
Right.
And the 1.3 that they ran, those numbers make a little bit more sense. In the new style, there's a lot of subtle shifts to the game that make stuff like that dangerous.
And that's kind of why there was a shift in rules, is to make the game a little bit more dangerous for players. And by all means, it's not to be like, oh, well, I need my game to be winnable at all times. I absolutely don't. It's one of those things of when you have somebody like, or at a hot day like this, when you have arcane armor, or everybody's got armor, but it's all virtual armor, something like 20 Doom does make a little bit more sense, but at the same time, you've also got a lot of newer players that are
no idea what it does.
Yeah, one shot and they're done.
One shots, and then I mean, we're gonna get into the nuances. Obviously, like life spells are at a primo too. It's not like everybody's got millions anymore. It just, there's a lot of subtle rules
tweaking.
It's
all tweaking.
I think but again, and calling out Nate and Rob and the rest of the Alliance Chicago plot team, there is positive steps being made, and there are some really good things that I am seeing from their game again. I am looking forward to trying out their next one day in a couple weeks in August. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, the first Sunday in August.
I think it's the
4th?
The 4th, yeah.
August, Sunday, Sunday, August the 4th will be another one day for Alliance Chicago. I will give that a try. So if you want to see, at least one half of your favorite podcast personalities, I will be there at least. Dusty White's got another engagement, unfortunately.
Yes.
But I will be there, and I want to give them another shot, and I'm going to kind of look for their weekend stuff as well, because they're on the right track, and they're really focusing on getting the 2.0 set and growing their chapter as well, which obviously benefits the game as a whole, and
absolutely.
The community, and getting new players.
We want people to come and play. We don't. It is not enjoyable when you are playing with the same 20 people every time.
It can be, but I know what you mean. So all in all, yeah, it was a fun weekend. Again, the heat kind of took some out of us, and I'm curious to know how much that affected the game as well, because it's hard to really run around as Red. Like, I'm highly active as Red, and even I was like, I'm gonna sit right here with a bottle of Wawa and leave me the hell alone.
I was told by one player, I was refitting or concentrating to get my armor skills back, and was told, no, you're not allowed to leave until you down a water. Yep. And people are serious about it. We don't want to see people actually physically get hurt.
I was yelling at a couple players and NPCs as well, and telling them there's only two stances I want to see you in. I want to see you in the fighting stance or in the drinking water stance.
Yeah.
And you don't have a sword in your hand, so get some water.
Shout outs to, for me personally, pros shout outs to all of the makeup characters that I saw this weekend.
Woo!
You included the new High Ogre as well. Repped his makeup. All the Vornay or Dark Elves were in full done up. High five to that. I like seeing people, as another person that plays a makeup race, I like seeing that commitment to the game. Obviously, there's a level of take care of yourself, and obviously don't
you become a drippy mess in about 5 hours.
Overexhaust yourself. But I really enjoyed the activity that I saw from the players, and the pretty top-notch RP, which is why I play the game. I joke about being a stick jack, but that's really not why I play. I am there for the role play. I'm there for the interaction. Mini court almost, because somebody got caught being a thief.
That was pretty funny.
That was enjoyable.
The role play on that was funny. I even made the comment, like, I was walking away. I'm like, I do not even know how that man walks with the size of his balls.
He chose to steal from the wrong group and suffered the consequences.
But it had a little court, and it was funny. It's the way his role play with it was very much of, you would expect a smarmy thief to be like, well, listen.
What if?
But what if? I mean, just saying, like, it played that off super well.
And shout out to Shen being the perfect male Vornay.
Dark elf. They don't use that term.
Sorry.
It's an in-game-ish type term, but
yes,
they're dark
playing
elves.
a male dark elf to a T, and I would say probably one of my best moments of that weekend was experiencing that and being a part of, no, I'm not a noble, but I'm going to tell you were wrong, and you need to turn around and fall on your knees and ask for forgiveness from the person that does have your life in their hands. And they did a great job, and I for one had a really good time.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I obviously will have, I think for the next week, we'll have a little bit more of a, I know we'll be doing the geek shout out soon, and we'll do, for August, we'll do all of our events happening soon, because realistically, June, July, and August are kind of the LARP dead zones.
Just because of the heat and because of where we play.
And yeah, I mean, you have Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and other scouts that are in session. So we're done. Like, we're not able to use those campsites. And then, yeah, you have people in armor and chainmail and plate mail and makeup and costuming. Some people use, like, authentic period style costume materials too. So you got gowns that weigh 50 pounds and such. So I'm calling you out, Annette. So you have all these people that will do this stuff and it looks fantastic, but it does not play well for June, July, August LARPing. So we will start getting ready to do, call outs to events in the area. I know Dystopia Rising has a new chapter happening in
Michigan,
in Kalamazoo area, which is kind of want to try it. Like I know there's one up in Wisconsin
and Indiana.
In Indiana, and then they got the new one in Kalamazoo, and I may give it a shot, if anything, just for a review. I think it'll be good for us to expand a little bit. We have some friends that will give us a proper tour, so we're not walking in totally blind.
Correct.
And be able to look and go, okay, hey, let's see what the game is about and see what we could do, and we'll go from there. Other than that, though, I mean, goes back to I had my near perfect on paper weekends, except for the nuances of it was hot, so it's hard to LARP in that. Other than that, like on paper, I got my bowling on. I got to see some fur friends and make some new friends. I got my beer on and got to do a little bit of a shout out. And actually, gonna kind of tangent back. I forgot I wanted to mention that. We didn't realize how big of a nerd
the Black Horizon Brewery
was until talking with their owner and the head brewer showed the comic collection that they had lined up around the bar. And I pulled him to the side, and he said that he has always been a fan of the Death of series and the Death of series of certain characters, from Death of Superman, spoiler, Death of, Wolverine, spoiler, Death of Captain America, spoiler, all these Death of characters, and he collected those books and has them framed up all nice and such, and just like talking to him about it.
Even the logo is...
Even the Black Horizon Brewing logo is stylized, and obviously copyright protection and all this other stuff, but definitely stylized to look akin to the Death of Wolverine, the skull that's on there. So we'll obviously have a picture up, but I did want to kind of dial back, so we did forget to mention that, and that's my apologies, of pointing that out, that did not know that there's geeks in all places. All you have to do is look up, and you'll be surprised what you'll find. So that does it for this week. Have anything you want to add before we close out, Dusty White?
I am looking forward to the rest of the summer and seeing where it takes us. Hopefully the weather doesn't completely burn us out.
As you say that, with the coming up, this coming weekend is supposed to be 100 degrees and like 90% humidity. Like even my parents in Arizona are like, okay, no, that's
hot.
100%, like 100 degrees with like 90% humidity. F that. Like a hot towel being thrown on your face and like breathe. That's what we get to look forward to.
Yeah, I know.
So remember to stay safe, ladies and gents. Drink lots of water.
Hydrate, you bitches.
Hail, hydrate. And as always, I am Dusty Red.
I'm Dusty White.
And remember that we are all geeks. To be otherwise may very well mean to live without passion. Have a good night.
Night.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Grey Muzzle Geekery with Dusty Red and Dusty White.
You can support our continued geekery at our Patreon website, patreon.com/Grey Muzzle Geekery. Be sure to check back often as we start to add geek cred levels.
You can send your questions and comments to us at greymuzzlegeekery@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at Grey Muzzle Geek.
We can be found on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and Buzzsprout.
And a special thank you to Pepper Coyote for our intro theme. And if you like what you heard, you can find more of his stuff on Spotify, Patreon, or directly from his Bandcamp page.